Hi, Taylor. Dr. Marvin here. Just wanted to give you an office visit through video chat here. Looks like on question one, um, let's see, you're missing the cost of direct materials used. So it looks like what the disconnect here is that um, in class, sometimes we've talked about direct materials, raw materials, kind of interchangeably. And in this particular problem, this particular question, what we're faced with is that we have raw materials, and part of this raw materials is both the direct um, materials as well as the indirect materials. So when we're looking at the purchases and the usage and that, um, raw materials is kind of the umbrella, and then under that we have direct and indirect. So we have to kind of push those two together or use those together to get the raw materials overall that you're looking at there. So push those two together, and that should help you get to that right balance there at the end. So take a look at that. If it's still not sticking or working, let me know. Um, then I think this one was good, and then I think you said the last question. So let me get to that. Um, yeah. Um, the you're missing here just the total cost. I think what you might be maybe doing here is just making this a little bit harder than what it is. So the total cost applied is just the grand total. So each job as of April 30th. So the total cost for job 308, we didn't have any in March or January or anything, and that's all good and fine. But now the cost added in April is the same as our. Well, I don't want to give it away, but I already did. It's going to be the same because it was started in April. It's still being worked on, right? So this is just a copy job where 306 and 7, they had costs before, and now we added more to them, and so it's those two things together. But here for 308, we had nothing plus 273. Okay, so hopefully that gets you on track with that. Um, oh, and then the gross profit. So um, remember what the gross profit is made up of, right? Is it's our revenue for anything that we sold minus the cost of those things, that those particular jobs, since we're looking at this job shop, right? So that's going to be the start of it. So what we need to do is go back to our items here, and you've identified it correctly. It's finished, but it's sold, job 306. It's the only job that got sold in this month. So this one's unsold, this one's still in process, so we can't sell that one. So the only one that we sold is this one here. So what we need to look at is, what did we sell this job for minus the total cost of that job. Okay, so all the revenue for 306 minus all the cost, 352. Okay, that's going to give us our initial gross profit, but we need to adjust that slightly, like what we worked on in class, by that overhead adjustment. So I don't know if you have notes on that, but what we worked through in class was the overhead that got applied versus the actual overhead. And so what we need to do then is look at if we've if our well, let's just look at the problem here that you have. It should tell us back here, actual overhead costs incurred in April were these things. So this and this and this and this and this. Okay. So what you need to do to get to that overhead adjustment for this problem is add those things up and then compare that total versus what got applied in overhead. Okay. That's going to give you the amount, the difference there. Okay. What the actual costs were compared to what got actually applied. Okay. Then what we have to do is applied is kind of like what we said the cost was, but that's based on an estimate. And so what we need to do is compare that to the actual cost that we have right here. Okay. And then we need to look at what got applied versus the actual. And if we've over applied overhead, we need to undo that to get it back to the actual cost. So if we've put too much cost in, we need to remove some cost. And when we remove costs or we remove expenses, how does that impact income or profit? Well, if we undo cost, it's going to boost up our profit, right? Less cost, more profit. So that's going to increase our gross profit. So we would add that difference if that was the case, and the opposite would be true the other way. So just write in your notes, kind of a worksheet for this problem. Actual overhead, boom, here's your total. Applied overhead, what's the difference? Just do subtraction, and then whether or not you need to add that to your gross profit that you already calculated below, or subtract it, is based on that piece about how it relates applied versus actual. Okay, you're going to need to either add that difference or subtract that difference. Okay, and then on the inventory track side of this, I'm not. I'd have to look at your text again, but what you're after in the raw material side of it is what you started with, your beginning balance, okay, plus your purchases minus what you used this month, okay. So beginning balance, raw materials, direct materials, indirect materials, plus purchases, direct materials, indirect materials, raw materials as a total, minus what we used, what we put in process, direct materials or indirect materials. And that's going to give us our ending balance. Okay. And then work in process is easy because we're working in a job shop. What we need to do for work in process is just go up here and we identified it right here. Okay. Finished is finished goods. It's sold, so it goes to cost of goods. We already took care of that in our gross profit. 307, finished goods unsold. That means it's in finished goods inventory, not work in process. So orange M&M, green M&M, yellow M&M. Okay, just sorting these things out. Job 308 was in process. So this grand total cost here is going to be our work in process for our work in process inventory. It happens to be also the same as just job 308 as it is, heads up. Okay. And then job 307, since it's our only finished unsold item, that is going to also be our finished goods inventory. Okay. And again, we're talking about the grand total. Okay. The grand total of all the costs for that particular category of product. So I was trying to make this quick and concise. It looks like it's over 9 minutes. So give that a look, work through the problem. If you have any questions or troubles, send me a text, give me an email, let me know, and we'll get you some more help. So take care and see you tomorrow.